We're back here at the Cowboy Way in Gene Autry, Oklahoma, with one of my good buddies here.
Where are we?
We're in Gene Autry, Oklahoma.
He has a place in Oklahoma?
He does now.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
Well, I had an idea when I drove up and I saw the sign that said Gene Autry Museum.
Museum?
Yes, and I figured he had some. I'll be jiggered.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
That's wonderful.
You do know who Gene Autry was?
Oh, yeah, he was a famous mathematician.
Yes.
I learned a lot about math from Gene Autry.
Actually, I know he's joking, but let me tell you what. He was very good with math.
He was a great businessman.
Yes.
Oh, man.
No kidding.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's no joke because and I saw him on an interview one time when he was talking about way he learned his math and got so good at it. He said he worked on the railroad and he had a job where he had to figure up the weights on the box cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I heard him tell that story, and he said, and that was the thing. He said, well, I was making the movies and I wanted to go in the Army and stuff, and they didn't want me to go, but he said they forgot one thing: I knew how to count. He knew his movies was hot. And so,
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to talk to you about an episode that I saw. Oh, look at him. No.
You warned me.
No. I happened to see an episode that I really enjoy. In fact, I have it on tape, by the way. And I think you were on Then Came Bronson. You remember?
Yes, I was. Forest Primeval.
Yes.
It was called. Yes.
Yes. And I love that show. That was a wonderful episode,
Yeah.
where he goes off into the wilderness and the bike breaks down and you're over there and you're knocking on somebody's camper and stuff. And I remember that show. I loved it.
It was great working with him. He's a terrific actor.
Yes, he is.
Always has been. And I was a little concerned because I remember he was shooting a film at Universal with Anne Margaret.
Yes.
And I was behind the camera kind of watching him. He was at the end of a bar, and he was ready to do his scene. And he looked toward the camera, and he saw me, and he said, "Would you mind getting out of my line of vision?" So I left the lot, and I didn't come
Well,
back
you got
for
out of
several
it. Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. You got out of it.
So I didn't know if he was going to remember that or not, but it was great working with him. We talked about the blues music. He loves the
love
blues.
blues, yeah.
And they asked him to do an interview for a newspaper, a local newspaper, and he didn't want to do it. So they asked me, and I did it. And he told me the next morning after he read it that he thought it was a terrific job that I did. Mm-hmm. So working with him was great. It was a fun
I really love that series because I rode bikes when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I had...
that was 4 years ago, right?
More like 50. I
wasn't going to say that.
I am. I don't mind. I will. Listen, tomorrow's my birthday, my friend.
Really?
Yes. And
87. That's all.
I was going to say 48.
I don't lie about my... I turned 79 tomorrow. 79.
Gosh.
And I'm still here.
I'm 84 in August.
You look good for 84, my friend.
I'm not 84 yet. In August.
Oh, 83, you look pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah. But at your age, it's good to be seen, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I'll tell you what, I heard, and I hope it's okay to talk, and I was going to ask you about this earlier, but I forgot. Okay, I admit. I heard a radio interview with you when you were talking about your career and how you got started and everything. And when you finally got on the Virginian, and you got fired.
That's right. I got fired.
Did they ever hire you back?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes. They fired me from the series because I went over the producer's head because I wanted something extra on the show.
Yeah.
And I went to the head of the studio, who was considered God at the time. And he was great when I met with him. Gave me a Pepsi. I needed a down payment for a house that I was getting because I was going to be married. And he just, without a blink of an eye, he walked to the door and he said, Lana, have the finance department send up a check for Gary and have it here in 15 minutes. And we talked. I told him what I wanted, and he said, I understand. Okay, we'll let you know. And the next thing I knew, my agent called me and said, they didn't pick up your contract for next year. And, it's right. I mean, that they fired me was right, because you don't go over your boss's head to his boss. Mm-hmm. And if Lou Wasserman, God, had actually convinced the producer to give me what I wanted, every actor on the lot would have been at his door trying to get the same thing.
Yeah.
So they had to dump me. But they brought me back 3 times the next year, and they paid me like 3 or 4 times what I was getting per show when I was under contract. So
well, it took a lot.
They liked me.
It took a lot of nerve to do that, to go to the big boss like that.
It didn't take nerve. I was stupid.
Oh, is that what you call that?
Stupid.
That's what I'm doing wrong. I think I'm doing this stupid, not nerve.
I told you to tell him that, but no, he's just getting it now.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm catching on.
How many years did you work on it?
3.
3.
Yeah.
And I saw you on Hondo, too.
2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
Of course, that series just lasted 2 years, right?
2 years, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ralph Taker, the guy who played Hondo, was he was kind of strange. There's a story I could tell, but I don't know. But
I've heard that story.
Yeah, but I don't. It's not one.
Ben Rogers told me that story. No, we can't.
We can't tell that here. I'm sorry. You guys will have to catch me at a.
I want to hear your story about Sophia Loren.
Who?
Sophia Loren.
Okay. Well, see, you just spoiled the story. Nobody's supposed to know until.
We know.
Oh, darn.
We know.
Knew.
Okay, you knew, but they didn't know.
No, I did. You know why?
You knew?
You know why?
Why?
Oh, I told him.
He told.
Oh, what a blabbermouth.
Don't ever tell me.
All right, here's the story. Pretend you didn't hear what he said. For those of you who remember, I dated Connie Stevens for a long time.
Oh my God, my first crush.
Oh, she was wonderful. Is wonderful, when we're still close friends. Yeah. She and I, 7 years. We almost got married 3 times, wow. And it just okay. You're going that way. And then she married Jim Stacy, and I married Pat Waddell, and all worked out for the best.
One of the Petticoat Junction gals.
Yeah, Pat Waddell was Bobby Joe on Petticoat Junction. The pretty one, and the smart one. Smart because
of course she married you.
Yeah. Thank you. So Connie and I went to. We were going to one of several Oscar events, Academy Award, whatever you want to call them. And this particular one was held in Santa Monica, and we drove up. And they took my car, the valet. Thank you, Mr. Clarke. We'll have it over there when you're in. Oh, thank you very much. So we went in, and it was a wonderful event. And for those people who had their cars valet parked, there was a place where we were supposed to pick them up. And it was just the celebrities. So in the auditorium, there were these 2 double doors. So they opened those doors. And there's a ramp, maybe 60 feet long, 15 feet wide, and hundreds of celebrities were on that ramp. So it was like this. The person behind you was above you, and the person in front of you was below you. It was like that. So Connie and I were in the midst of the crowd, and we hear the guy at the bottom of the ramp saying, "Mr. Cary Grant's car, Mr. Fabian's car, Miss Betty Davis's car," and they'd go and they get in the car and drive off. So we're waiting and waiting, and I thought I heard somebody call my name. So I turned around, and I'll tell you, my nose was that far from the most beautiful cleavage I have ever seen in my life. And I didn't move, but the cleavage breathed and came closer to my nose. It was astounding, and I kind of looked up, and there was this swan-like neck, wonderful chin, full lips, almond eyes, and as what's-his-name here said, it was Sophia Loren.
Did I say that?
Yes. Tell them the Sophia Loren story. So there she is, and I'm looking in her eyes, and she's smiling. And being an actor, being cool, I knew how to handle myself. So I was glib, and I looked up at her, and I said, and she took my face and kissed me on the lips. And and I'm stunned, and I'm standing there, and I feel these eyes on me, somebody else's eyes. And to her right, on my left, was her husband, Carlo Ponti. And I looked at him, and he looked at me with such benevolence. And he smiled, and he said, "I know." And I went down, got in my car, and took off. I think Connie is still there.
Did she ever speak to you again?
It took a while, but she did.
Yeah. Wow.
That was such a wonderful, it's been a long time. Can I wash my lips now?
I think so, probably.
All right. Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know out there, or maybe a lot of them do, you're not only a great actor, you're a really good writer.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because I've worked with some of your stuff.
That's right, you have.
Yeah.
Yes,
Did you
have.
fire him?
No.
Oh.
He was one of the good guys.
He wanted to
I
get.
didn't go above his head.
Did you get him shot or?
I didn't go to Abe
No.
and say, "Hey."
Yeah, that's right.
Well, no. I wanted to. We got to talk a little bit about Billy and the Bandit, because I just watched a thing where the interviews with James Hoffpauir, Roberta LeSueur, and yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, y'all all talked about Billy and trying to raise money for the thing. Is that still in the works?
It's a possibility, but there was one person who is legally connected to the animation that we were going to use.
Right.
And he turned out to be such a poop. Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
He turned out to be such a big poop that, he single-handedly destroyed it. He put horrible things on the internet. He wanted to be in charge of everything. And the problem with that is he knew nothing about the business. And we had that conversation at the beginning.
Wait a minute. Haven't I worked with someone like that? Okay.
So it died, but it's not, well, I say it died. It died then, but it's been resurrected a little bit. There's a possibility.
Possibility. Because the little clips I saw and the animation that I saw and everything, and the storyline I loved, and I thought it was fun.
It was. It would have been great. It would have been more work for Jim and Roberta and me.
Yeah.
Buck Taylor, and Buck Taylor.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Now, there's another movie you did, something about...
Next time you need to pay me.
You got to work first.
Pushy.
You did a movie in, I believe, couple of years ago, not too long ago, about something about the Kennedy.
Yes, Parkland.
Parkland,
Oh,
yes.
that's a great movie, too.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have not seen it, but I want to. Is it? What part did you play in?
I played Kennedy's personal physician, and I had no idea what to expect going in there, but it was so emotional.
Yes.
There's a scene where I come into the emergency operating room, and there is Kennedy, and the back of his head is blown off.
Right.
And they're trying, futilely to revive him. And just the whole tenor of the scene was so emotionally impactful. They said, somebody has to go get a casket. So I turned around and I walked out, and I walk into the middle of about 20 nurses, orderlies, doctors, like that, and all I had to say is, we need a casket. I couldn't get the words out. It
was that emotional.
I burst into tears.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
And then the scene was over, and I'm standing there waiting to reset, and the wardrobe lady came up, and it looked like she was smiling, but it wasn't. She was crying, and then she threw her arms around me, and we just stood there and we hugged each other for a long time. And then they put him in the they take his body out, and they put it in a hearse, and I'm supposed to get in the front seat, and I'm in the passenger side, and the camera is rolling by slowly, looking in at me as it's going by. And again, I just burst into tears. They must have taken that shot 3 or 4 times, and every time just sobbed. And the director came over and he said, they're all talking about how great that scene was when you how did you do that? And I burst into tears.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that movie.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you have things you have to do.
No, I don't. I'm fine. I would like to spend some more time
with us.
Let's do
but anyway,
15 minutes.
Dean wants to get rid of you. And he said, let's
No,
fire
because he might hire me again. No.
Would he hire you?
Sure.
Well, maybe
I'll talk to Ava by Gumbo.
All right. Okay. Well, anyway, we have to thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, man. I'll tell you what. I'm sorry you had to work with Dean, but
I have too, but don't
Shake my hand.
Oh yes.
Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary Clarke, and I thank you for the wonderful stories, and thank you for your time for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate you very much.
Okay.
He doesn't appreciate you, but I do.
I know.
I know. All
See,
right.
this is all
Ladies
fake.
and gentlemen, Gary Clarke.
I'm a good actor.
Today, I'm out here with my pal Danny Boy, and we have a message for you from the American Lung Association. If you don't smoke, don't start. And if you do smoke, find a way to stop. Now, we know that it's not easy, so check with your doctor. He'll be the first one who'll be glad to help show you the way. Now, for a better quality life and a longer life, stop smoking today. So, for me and Danny, to all of you, good luck, God bless, and here's hoping we see you at the Crossroads.
And now we're here with a young man named Charlie LeSueur.
Young?
And Charlie, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Not much. Well, I am fortunate to be here and here being the Gene Autry Museum for this event, the Cowboy Way, and was asked to do what I guess I do, which I do panel discussions, the Q&As with the celebrities, and I've been doing that since '92.
Right, and you write some books.
I write. I just released another one, and it's available, called The Western Legends Live On.
How would people get a hold of that?
Probably by the bookends and read it.
I forgot to tell you, he's a comic too.
Or on Kindle.
And in James
Okay,
Hoffpaur's case.
you could get it on my website, which is www. Isn't it amazing how they all start with those W's? Silver Screen Cowboys, and that's not an S at the end; it's a Z. Cowboys. I didn't want to pay the extra money for the S. .com, and you can get it there, or you can get it in book form or ebook at Amazon.
Well, I have a question. I have something I think I know about the two of you guys.
Did you tell him about the other night?
No, that was not me.
Because that was chocolates. That was
No. Let me ask, and if I'm wrong, correct me.
All right.
Don't you
We'll correct it.
Anyway, don't you teach a college course?
At Central Arizona College, I teach a course seasonally on the Western topics. I just finished one on the rural purge, which, if nobody out there are familiar with the rural purge, unless I don't pop my P's because I went to broadcasting school, it is what has been given the name of when demographics came in the late 60s, and they got rid of shows like the Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres and
Two of my favorites.
and Red Skelton and those, but mainly it was called the Rural Purge for two reasons: because they were getting rid of real popular shows like the Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres and Petticoat Junction, but because they were getting rid of the Westerns.
Right.
And Westerns had a double whammy going for them, because not only were the networks wanting to get rid of them, and why were they wanting to get rid of them? Because they wanted to reach a different demographic. They felt that a younger demographic would attract advertisers, and not these Westerns, even though some of them were still very popular. But it was a double whammy because pressure groups like the PTA were against the Westerns. They felt they were too violent,
Yep.
and this being the 60s at the time when we were having problems like the assassination of Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King, and a few years after President Kennedy and so forth, that Westerns contributed to it. Now, we know that's not the truth.
Yes.
But they said it was. So even then, things were getting a little PC and pistol crazy. But so these shows were either eliminated. Gunsmoke was actually canceled the first time in 1967. Did you know that? Yeah, Gunsmoke was canceled in 1967. It's just that Babe Paley, that's a hard one to get out on a microphone.
CBS.
Babe Paley, CBS, the president of CBS, Paley, his wife, that was her favorite show. And so,
Wives matter, don't they?
yeah, and if Mama's not happy, nobody's happy.
Right.
So when she found out it had been canceled, she threw a fit to where, well, it got back on. Now the only problem was they needed a half hour extra for the full hour show. They had a half hour, but they needed to cancel something to have that full hour. Mm-hmm. Now, Paul Savage, who was the writer of Gunsmoke, had me dinner at his house, and he told me the story behind that. He
Was
said,
it good food?
it was excellent
Good.
food. Excellent food. At Purina.
That's good.
Yeah, it was good. So anyway, he said that he was sitting at his desk after Gunsmoke had been canceled, and Gilligan's Island had been renewed for a fifth, or is it a fourth season? Anyway, another season. And Alan Hale stuck his head in his office, the skipper, and he said, they made the wrong decision. They made the wrong choice. It should have been us that was canceled, and they should have renewed you, because it was still popular, Gunsmoke was.
Right.
And he said, so they made the wrong decision. And then they needed that half hour to put Gunsmoke back on, so they did cancel Gilligan's Island. So it did not come on for another season. And Alan Hale, again, came to Paul Savage's office and said they made the right decision. Now, what I didn't know until last night, that I was told that actually Alan Hale went to the network as well and complained, saying Gunsmoke should not be taken off the air.
Really?
But it was also mentioned on the floor of Congress, on the Senate and Congress. They mentioned how Gunsmoke was being canceled. Don't know why, but maybe they're going to take a vote on it. You know, but that's how popular the show was. So it was renewed, and of course it went on for several more years, 1975, and that's when it was renewed. That's when Buck Taylor came on as Newly. But the others weren't so fortunate, like High Chaparral, who started in 68. By 1970, these pressure groups were so bad, and High Chaparral, one of my favorite westerns, was a very violent western for the time for television. And so, due to these pressure groups, it was renewed for another season, but they were told that they needed to tone down the violence, and when someone was shot, we want to see them get up, like they're wounded, but they're not killed. So that's the season that they brought in Rudy Ramos as Wind, and Blue had gone, and they did another season, and then they were getting ready for a 5th season. And they had scripts already, and because the ratings went down, possibly because of the changes,
Right.
They got canceled. So, and basically,
How many years did High Chaparral?
well, from 68 to 4 seasons. 4 seasons. And from 49 to 69, there was not a year that went by that did not have at least one Western debut. Of course, we had over 30 in the turn of the 60s there, from the 50s to 60s. But in 1970, that was the first year since national television went on the air that there was no new Western. They had pretty much killed the Western, and that's where all these popular shows had problems. Of course, Virginian was canceled then after being on the air for so long. The only ones left on were pretty much Bonanza and Gunsmoke. And that was it for a few more years. They held on. And they did introduce in the early 70s Alias Smith and Jones, which had a following. It was very popular, but they did have
a Butch Cassidy.
Well, it was a definite rip-off, and I don't think they really denied that.
Yeah.
But it...
and then one of the lead actors, that
Duell, Peter Duell, of course, committed suicide, unfortunately, and so they brought in the announcer, Roger Smith, to who was the announcer for the show.
Yeah.
They brought him in. They wanted to cancel it. The producers wanted to cancel the show at that point. How do you go on without such a popular? And the network said, no, we will sue you.
Well, I have a question about that series. Wasn't Mr. Jury in that series at one point? Played a marshal or something?
In Alias Smith and Jones, he might have been, but it would have been a regular.
No, he wasn't a regular.
No.
I don't mean a regular, but he...
well, there's a good possibility. We'll have to ask him. I'm not sure about that.
But, he worked in Walker, Texas Ranger, too.
Yeah, well, Walker, Texas Ranger was very respectful of all those stars.
Oh, yes,
they brought in Robert Fuller. They brought in a lot of them. It was like the Fall Guy. The Fall Guy did the same thing. And, Drury was
Ken Farmer, they brought
in that, and Ken Farmer. But the Fall Guy was really respectful. That was when they brought in Roy Rogers, and they brought in all those stars that would appear on the show they brought in. So, that was a good deal.
Well, I got one last question for you.
All right.
Do you think, I hear this all the time.
Okay. I don't think, no.
No, okay. Do you think the Western is dead?
No. Here's the problem. When we had the Westerns, when we were younger, a few years younger, and they were very popular, you had generally in an area 4 stations. You had the 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, for a while DuMont.
Yep.
But I don't even remember DuMont, but they didn't really ever have any Westerns. So for all intents and purposes, throw them out, put them in your pocket. We had ABC, NBC, and CBS, and we'd have an independent station.
Right.
And if you are a syndicated Western, you could be on in the independent station. Some of them even got on the networks. But with 4 stations, you were always having Westerns on because they were the popular item at the time until the network said they weren't. They could have gone on after the purge.
Yeah.
But what we have now is we have hundreds of stations, and that demographics is working for us instead of against us. With the 3 stations, they all wanted the same demographic. With hundreds of stations, you have to appeal to all these different demographics. So you have to have stations that honor the Westerns.
Right.
Like Grit or RFD or Get or Encore Westerns. You have channels that do that because there is the demographic for that, just like you have demographics for younger audiences as well, but you have to have that space. If you're all hitting the same demographic, these 100 stations are going to go bye-bye, so you have to have the American Heroes channel.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, no, they're working against us. Now, if you're asking about films, we'll look at Magnificent Seven.
Right.
That did pretty well.
Yes, it did.
Now,
and I enjoyed it. I was kind of shocked that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
It is what it is. Don't expect they say it's a remake. In a way, it is, yes, and it's got the name. It's got the title, but it had its own story to it, and it was of its time.
Right.
Now you've got something like the Lone Ranger, and I'm still waiting for them to do a good Lone Ranger, and it can be done. It just has to be done by people who are respectful of it. And I did not mind the Lone Ranger because it is what it is. But the problem is a purist does not go see those Westerns.
Right.
And if you don't go see those Westerns, these young snot-nosed kids that are running studios now, they say, well, see, this whole combination that made the Lone Ranger, Depp and company, Pirates of the Caribbean was a very popular show. They just released or are releasing another one. But put them in the Lone Ranger. You see, it wasn't them. It wasn't the story. It's that the Westerns are just dead.
Right.
They're dead because no one goes to see them. It did well on video, but what we're looking at is box office.
Right.
So if you're going to go see the sporadic Western in the movie theaters, like an Open Range or a Magnificent Seven, something like that, you're going to have to occasionally put up with a Cowboys and Aliens or a Wild Wild West.
Well, at least Buck Taylor was in Cowboys and Aliens.
Well, he was in Wild Wild West, too.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're going to have to put up with those things, and it gives work to the Cowboys, but for every one of those, you got a Magnificent Seven. Now, that did well, so you're going to see more. But to go to on-demand, to the pay-per-view channels, or Netflix,
right?
Those stations, you're going to see new movies that are made. Trace Atkins just did another Stagecoach.
Right.
So he's kind of got a sideline where he takes the titles from old movies and TV shows and kind of reworks them. He did The Virginian, he did Stagecoach, and he does some other westerns, and they're pretty good. So
kind
if you
of
go
reimagining of
yeah. So if you go to Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, you're going to find the westerns. Look at Longmire. Longmire. Look at Hell on Wheels. Deadwood. There's word that they're going to be doing a film of that. I just happen not to be a big fan of Deadwood because of the language.
Right.
But the storyline, everything were fine. Now, one of these days I'll work my way through the whole series.
Have you seen The Sun?
I watched The Sun now. And I wasn't sure at the first episode. I go, I'm not sure where they're going with this. I'm not sure I'm going to like this. But I do. They switch the time periods back and forth, and I like it. Pierce Brosnan does a wonderful job.
And he's a great guy.
And you know him? You met him?
I met him.
Well, I just had him over for dinner a couple of nights. You were on The Sun?
Yeah.
Really?
The thrill of my life.
Well, see, there you go. So an endorsement here, for what it's worth, I like The Sun. I like it. I
haven't seen it, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah. They're in there, as we're talking right now, their 5th or 6th episode, I think. I enjoy it. It's just very episodic, very good.
Good.
And it's one of those where
I've read the book.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I enjoy that. So they're there. No, Westerns are not dead. It's just that there's so many venues out there that you have to sift through them to find it.
And it seems like there are going to be more and more venues. I only have broadcast TV, but they add these channels, they add more channels.
Well, now with Grit, I understand you can get that on the broadcast.
Yes,
so,
I get it.
So I recommend Grit is, I understand, a wonderful one. Also,
Get TV.
Get
TV.
Get TV and Grit. There's Grit too. Now I also recommend Bob Terry's got Westerns on the Web, which is a wonderful place. I go for about a 4-mile walk every night, and what I do. is I put on Westerns of the Web. I click on one of those old Westerns, which are about an hour long, and I'm watching a full Western while I finish my walk-up. You know, it's a great thing. So there are places to go. You just have to look for them.
Well, on that note, my friend, we have to let you go back to work, pal.
I do.
And everything, because what we did was we want to let everybody know that Roberta LeSueur walked in the room, so we got to get rid of you.
Oh,
what?
We just did a Virginian panel that was absolutely incredible.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
It had everybody in their palm of their hands, and Roberta is just a jewel.
One more time.
Well, we got the Virginian over
How
there.
can they get the book?
Okay, you can either go to www.Silver-Screen Cowboys, all together, Silver-Screen Cowboys, and again, at the end of boys, it's not an S, it's a Z. So cowboys.com, and you can order it right there. You can order it there from me direct. If you want it signed, you have to order it from me direct. But you can also go on there and you can order it from Amazon, so you have a choice. Or you can go directly to Amazon and you can get it in paperback, or you can get the Kindle version.
Excellent.
So there you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Oh, thank you for asking me. I appreciate it so much.
All right.
This is a song that, Janet got the idea for a song that was a Western swing song and also a yodel song. Because she said DJs never would play yodeling, but they'll always play the Western swing. So she had her idea and a verse written up and told me and Devon, help me write this swing song. And so the three of us came up with a song called Yodel Western Swing.
Oh!
She fell in love with Western swing. She was just a singing teen. And it was back in Grandpa's day. But she was learning how to play.
Wheels and cooling on the stage, and yodelers were all paid. But no one had a clue. This little gal could yodel it too. Little yodel lady, show us what you got. Let us hear a yodel. Come on, give it a shot. Little yodel lady, won't you do your thing? Show us how to yodel Western swing. Yodel-ay, yodel-ay-dee, yodel-ay, yodel-ay-dee. Alay, yodel-oh, yodel-oh-dee, ah, yodel-oh, ah-ha. One day her chance had come around. Traveling band came to their town. She had her guitar in hand. They asked her up to join the band.
The dancing crowd began to sway. The swinging beat swept her away. Came her turn to sing a line.
Her yodel came in snapping time.
They hollered, little yodel lady, show us what you got. Let us hear a yodel. Come on, give it a shot. Little yodel lady, won't you do your thing? Show us how to yodel Western swing.
Yodel-ay, yodel-oh-dee, yodel-ay, yodel-oh-dee.
Yodel-oh-dee, ah, yodel-oh, ah-ha.
Like beating love, those years are gone.
Western swing keeps swinging on.
Sock rhythm, guitar, bunkhouse bass.
Puts a smile on every face.
Combine it with a yodel break.
And every time it takes the cake. Now everywhere we go, they wanna hear us swinging yodel. They holler, little yodel lady, show us what you got. Let us hear a yodel. Come on, give it a shot. Little yodel lady, won't you do your thing? Show us how to yodel Western swing.
Yodel-ay, yodel-oh-dee.
Yodel-ay-yodel-ay-dee, ah, yodel-oh, ah-ha.
Lay low.
Yodel-oh-dee, ah, yodel-oh-dee, dee-dee-dee, ah-ha.
Till we meet again, good luck, God bless, and we'll see you at the crossroads. Let's go, Dan.